Hey everybody, G4 Video 5 here, and welcome back to some more Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the definitive edition. In this part, we will be completing the mission Supply Lines for Zero.
Hey Z, where you at?
Go away, Carl. I'm very, very busy back here. Top secret stuff, not for your eyes. Too sensitive.
Come on, homie, where are you?
I said go away, Carl. I don't need any friends today. Thank you.
Man, them some pretty strong draws.
Yes, my hero. Carl, he came back and humiliated me. I shall probably turn to prostitution now, where I will be found dead and broken. I am a 28-year-old man whose landlord just helped him down from a hook from which I had been hanging from my underwear, contemplating my inadequacy for nearly 2 hours. Ow! My crack.
Look, you gotta get even, homie. What kind of weapons you got?
I've got a prototype of a miniature plane.
Well, with that plane, we gonna go humiliate Burke.
Okay, cool.
Man, this ridiculous.
That went right up my crack. Berkeley has his sycophantic lackeys do all his deliveries. Well, we shall hit him where it hurts the most. Bring his mail-order model business to its knees. Launch the Red Baron.
No, is he referring to Red Baron frozen pizza? Nah, he's just making World War I references. Although I wish he was referring to the frozen pizza brand. Please sponsor me. Because that's way better than this garbage we have going on here, as this mission is probably the worst mission in the entire Grand Theft Auto series. And that sounds like an exaggeration, you know, one of those things that you say in the heat of the moment, the heat of the battle of the mission, but it's quite a valid argument that you can make for this mission for a few different reasons. First off here, we have traffic spanking my ass, and not in the good way either. It's actually kind of annoying having the NPCs driving around, and also the ones walking around becoming all frantic because of the gunfire, which makes sense. You know, it's a pretty normal occurrence in these firefight types of missions. So, all that aside, the main problem here are the controls of this RC plane that we're controlling here, as the ground controls and air controls are different enough and awkward enough to cause quite a few issues when you're trying to navigate from point A to point B, as you're moving from enemy group to enemy group, as there's quite a few groups of enemies that you're going after that you need to take out in order to pass the mission. And so to describe a bit more specifically what these control problems are, is that when you're on the ground, you turn left and right by using the steer buttons, which you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there. But those become activated not only when you're holding down either one of those or tapping them, but you also have to accelerate or move backwards at the same time. So it's not like you could just kind of hold your position but turn the RC plane. Like, you do have to be moving forward or backward in order to do that. And so that's a little annoying at times because it's very sensitive. Like, if you hold down those steer buttons, then you're just going to be, pivoting like crazy. So it's something to be mindful of. But when you're launched up into the air, the left analog stick then controls whether you move left or right. Because when you're on the ground, the left analog stick just controls what you're doing with the RC plane's ass. Whether you're moving that up or down in order to begin ascending or maintain your position on the ground. So it's just really, really awkward jumping between those two mindsets that you have to have when you're controlling this thing, whether you're up in the air or down on the ground. And this comes into play quite a bit because, as you can see, you don't always get great position. Like, I got really lucky here because that motorbike is actually on fire right now. As you can see, Enchilada Knight had its time with those two folks on the bike there. But I got really lucky because the guns on this thing are thankfully powerful enough to take out these vehicles that are being used by these couriers quite quickly. So pretty good stuff there. I'll give that some credit, that the guns are pretty nice, but everything else is pretty dreadful. Now, there is a fuel meter that we're using, or that is being used during this mission, and it's not quite impactful here in this version of the game, the Definitive Edition version, which is more or less based off of the mobile version, as in the original version, the PlayStation 2 version. I remember failing this mission quite a bit growing up because of that fuel meter, where it would run out by the time I'd get to this point in the mission, and I wouldn't be able to complete it, because even though we've taken out all of the couriers, we now have to bring this thing back to the rooftop of Zero's shop. And that would always be problematic because I'd run out of fuel, and the reason for that is because some versions of this game, the fuel meter is based off of how often you're accelerating with this thing, and then in other versions of this game, the fuel meter seems to be based off of time, where it's like a pseudo-timer, which is interesting and a bit easier to deal with, but regardless, here, as you can see, we have plenty of fuel remaining.
Smell it! You know that ozone smell. Smells like victory.
I don't know about all that. I think it smells more like shit, TBH, fam. But anyway, that wraps up this part. In the next part, we'll be taking on the final mission for our good pal, the Zero, which is called New Model Army. Ooh, models, Are they Instagram models with OnlyFans accounts? Take my paycheck. So until then, I will see you next time.